I'm Margaret Ann Windsor, and I have to use the name Peggy Ann Dempsey. I married a Childers. I was kidnapped in 41 and brought to Moulton, Alabama, and given the name of a twin who was dead. Peggy's her name, and Ann Dempsey, and both twins were murdered by their mother. This was their mother, Lina. The family's dressed up. They had to go out and get cameras for that to Huntsville or Decatur. This was a pigsty farm, poor, but they were mean. Well, except for, I think he had compassion. By the way, his name was, maybe I shouldn't say it, George Washington, and I won't finish it. So this whole thing, this is me right here. That's the Dempseys, and they've covered this up. I found out in 1983 about my kidnapping. Now, there's no way they they didn't have cars. It doesn't show their home. It's right next door. Oh, so this is about 43, so I would have been, I was 2 years old when they kidnapped me, 39, brought here in 41, 42, 43. I can't be that. Well, I guess I was 4 years old. Oh, this is, I found out about my kidnapping in 83 when I was in a political campaign, a candidate. Now, this is Georgia O'Keeffe, my aunt. Claudia Ruth O'Keeffe is my mom. This is me growing up down there, and this is right after they brought me. There's a rooster back there. There was nothing to eat, clothes. It was horrifying, the abuse that went on. This is me in high school, and this is the family again, some of them. This is my dad, Edward VIII. This is his brother, George VI, in 1939, planning my kidnapping. That's the year I was born. This is Roosevelt, President Roosevelt, who appointed JFK's father, Joe Kennedy, as ambassador to England. This is Elizabeth's mom, George the illegal Six's wife. Rothschilds. And this is his mother, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. They're Jews, Freemasons, Illuminati, the global government. This is George the illegal Six, and they're planning my kidnapping. And this is Mrs. Roosevelt, his wife, President Roosevelt's wife, and that whole family, John Jr., and all of them got into this with Winston Churchill. And anyway, I'm going to go to this. This is Wallace Simpson, who history tells you married King Edward VIII, and he became the Duke and Duchess of Windsor. That's a total friggin' lie. All of it made up by the Illuminati. And here she is shaking hands with Mrs. Roosevelt. This is Wallace. Job well done, I guess. 1941 October. I was brought there in the spring, as far as I can tell by a picture that I remember. And I do remember, after finding out, I do remember quite a bit. So, this is Elizabeth. This is her family that she supported with my money. She's always known about my mom, my dad, what happened, the lies. He was taken down with character assassination. And here is, I guess I got the picture over here to the side. This is Wallace and one of the doubles. Here's Wallace shaking hands in 41 with Mrs. Roosevelt. The whole thing was to take down my father. And they didn't think he would have a child, I guess. He was older. When I was born in 39, my father, I believe, was 45, and my mom was 40. My mom was a school teacher, and of course, George O'Keeffe's the artist. And a very fine one, I might say, the O'Keeffes. And wanted to show you this because JFK and his whole family, the Klan, were part of the mafia, they're part of the Illuminati, the global government that's in power. After this happened, after they took my father down, and then they had to kidnap me because there were papers that were legal. Because they took my father down with character assassination. They had they had more than one double lookalikes running around doing crazy stuff, bad behavior, and it was blamed on my father. So my father had papers signed, and they were legal. They went through channels that said if he had an heir, the heir would inherit. Well, I was born in 39. 37, when history tells you he abdicated, King Edward abdicated to marry Wallace Simpson, he was married to my mom. She was Queen of England in 36. She should have remained that. That title should have stayed with her and King Edward VIII, my father. But there was an addendum that made me Queen Victoria II the minute I was born, would brought my father back as power of attorney, and I'm losing it right here. What I was trying to get this together. Guardian. Okay, this is what JFK, he helped in my kidnapping. He would go into the embassy and actually went before Parliament. Now here is, well, at least from 39 when I was born, and he helped kidnap me in 41, bring me to Moulton, Alabama. Now, here's his daughter with Obama. What earns Caroline Kennedy an ambassadorship? Well, it's JFK's daughter, and I'm going to tell you something. Who in the heck do you think helped in all the bombing of Japan? And I bet they don't, some of the people there don't even know it anymore, what really happened. My dad wouldn't take orders from the Illuminati, so they took him out. I want to show you this because I didn't know anything about this. I was doing a book about mind control and chips. I worked for Dr. Chips, C-H-I-P, that they're pretending is just coming out, and they tell a little bit of it about you can swipe, have a little chip in your finger like a piece of salt, a grain of salt. Bull, this has been going on probably since 30. They just didn't have the other technologies. You could do it with a ham set, teach you the Morse code at a low level you're not aware you're hearing. A church, when I came up here, I'd run a campaign, and Larry Flint had been shot in Lawrenceville, and he flew me out there in 83, and it was after then I started finding out about my real name, and I was, by the way, I want to mention this, I was christened, and I guess I might as well get this in now, but let me tell this first if I can get back to it. Implantable biochips. The church bought the book and sent it, someone brought it to me. I was living on the Appalachian Trail. How's that up here from Troutville? And I did parts and lived on it back and forth just to have a place to be. Cold and starved. Anyway, biotwins is what it says. This is about Timothy McVeigh, who says they had a computer chip in him. The Army put it in him. And he was accused of blowing up the Oklahoma City bombing, the federal building, etc. Well, here they're saying that William, who's illegal, by the way, the whole lineage is George VI sold his brother out, helped kidnap me, and then Elizabeth took over, and the whole brood's illegal and should be locked up. They're war criminals. Anyway, they say they put a chip in him in case he got kidnapped. I'm the one that got kidnapped. I think that was just a clue there. I don't know. But the biochip is part of the mark of the beast. And the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Bilderbergers, part of my own family, some of them, helped in my kidnapping, and Roosevelt. And then I'm going to go, if I have time, here and explain about a few things I want to ask about Frank Sinatra. Chairman of the board, whatever that means. But Project Lucid is your global government that's in power, your one world government that they talk about in Revelations, and the chips, and the money's already being. I'm going to turn this around. The money's being. You can't use cash anymore in a lot of places. It's getting there quick. It's going to be to where you have to have the chip that they talk about here to get money or anything. So anyway, it's already in, what's the name of that now? Their book. I should have kept it. Implantable Biochips, and Project Lucid is the name of it. Tex Mars. Now, so that I can get this up, it's no need going on what hell of a life I had. It's horrifying, the torture me and my kids. Mark and Scott are heirs after me, and I hope I can see them again and they're alive and well. I had a letter from the FBI June the 23rd of 79, ongoing investigation, national security involved. The June the 23rd is my father's birthday. So of course, he was born another year. But now I want to get to this because so much happened. I was almost killed. I worked for the district attorney. I ran in the campaign, but I was almost died. I should have, according to medical history. Anyway, I'm going to put this down, see if I can keep it in order here, because I've met a couple of people in the last days up here where I've been living for a while. And this is like a conundrum and that was thrown at me, and the person knew what he's talking about because he said too much about some other stuff and I knew. So, okay, one thing is when I was in Tampa, Florida in 82, 83, it would have been January, February that this happened, 83. I was on court, I worked at Tampa Hilton as sales secretary. Maisie, who was CIA, was the secretary to John Bristol, the manager of the Tampa Hilton, and they were CIA. Okay, they had a picture of Jimmy Carter. Remember, I did this book and everything in Marietta and lived there for a long time. It's where a lot of this happened, that I was almost killed, wrote the book, got the letter from the feds. Okay, Jimmy Carter's picture was up on the wall and had some lady kind of kissing him on the cheek. There was nothing wrong with it. It was some kind of alcohol, tobacco, and firearm thing that was going on. I don't remember the circumstances totally, why they were there or what, but they were in the White House and they were shaking hands and around Jimmy Carter, and she kissed him on the cheek, this woman. Now, I was walking across Courtney Causeway to Clearwater. You can walk across there. That was back in 83. December, January, and February 83 at least. March maybe. And this man stopped me and he said, he had a little dog he's walking. He was elderly. He said, "Can I buy you a cup of coffee?" And the restaurant was right there. And I've lived so poor all my life, but this even got bad down there, even though I had been working, trying to pay rent. Anyway, long story short, the restaurant was nice enough. I went in with him, but he introduced himself and said he was a flying Frenchman. He had been in the Olympics. He had a newspaper clipping, and he was elderly himself. He told me that JFK, he could go in while he was president and see him anytime he wanted to. He said, "Can I show you this portfolio or file folder?" And I sit there, and there's some things that some people died in this that was, I've told about mind control and what can be done with it. You can cure an illness or create it. And a lot of these, if you've watched my videos or Facebook, I've told about, like Timothy McVeigh, you put a chip in someone and you become their decision maker and they're held accountable. But anyway, was that Family Affair with French and, oh God, don't let me forget, the British butler. Okay, he died right after, not too long. Okay, my husband, we had the Grand National. It was a fabric in 70, 71, 72, I guess. It was about this time that a salesman for my husband was on the plane. What was it? Oh gosh, I can't remember his name. British, and he was working for the others in it. What did I just say? Family Affair. But Brian Keith, is that his name? And Jody, they were twins. So you get into the twin bit, and I'm going to run out of time here. The other girl, one of the twins, I believe it's Jody, or was it the girl twin, died. The other girl, somebody had cancer in it, but there was a lot going on in that. And by the way, one of my relatives one of my cousins in the Windsor family, got me on Facebook, and she said, "I knew the minute I saw it, it was you. Your Facebook and you talking about all this." Anyway, I want to get back to this. I can't. His name, he was the butler that played on there, the British butler. He's English on that program. And he was on the airplane seat next to this man that worked for my husband in the fabric, selling them. And this is sad to say, but this is what happened, and it gets into a bunch of stuff like this. This salesman that worked for us, for my husband, he sat by him and he said, "Well, get me your address and I'll send you a bolt or two of the fabric." Well, he did, and he died. The man died. Not the salesman. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting his name, and I liked him. Anyway, okay, where was I? Okay, I'm on Courtney Causeway, and he had that folder, and he had Family Affair, Jody, and I can't remember them, the butler and English butler, and Brian Keith in it. And I said, "Well, I know what you mean by that. I knew they'd been murdered." And he said, "Well, and the twins." He said, "Yeah." And he had a picture of Tony Bennett. He's part of the mafia, the global government. There must have been really some people involved. I hope I get this up, and take down my father and the kidnapping of me. Character assassination that allowed all this to happen. There were treaties that were signed by illegal George VI. They are illegal treaties. And the Illuminati, when they took my father down, kidnapped me. How's that? The Illuminati is the one that tells you who's the Queen of England or the King. Illegal war criminals they are. But anyway, he was talking about Frank Sinatra. He had these pictures in the folder, and he had Ronald Reagan and Nancy in it too. And he knew about me. Well, I didn't know about being kidnapped. I knew about the murders, and he had a couple of them in there. He said, "Did you know Frank Sinatra just flew out from the airport here in Clearwater?" Well, I didn't know what he meant by Frank Sinatra. Well, I know who Frank Sinatra is, and I know his son Bill was kidnapped, but I didn't know why he was talking about him. So anyway, I want to get into this. I think I've given enough there. Someone in the last week or so mentioned to me, and they knew what they were talking about. They knew about me and everything, but they said something about Frank Sinatra, and he's known as chairman of the board, No Blue Eyes. Okay, he's a part of the mafia, and he would visit JFK, who helped kidnap me. His father was made by President Roosevelt, ambassador to England, for the purpose of taking down the British, installing the Illuminati, taking my father down. And I want to put this in here real quick and try to get back. There was a portrait, much bigger than this big. It was a portrait of my father that was like this picture I've just shown you, only he's carrying me in his arms, has me in his arms. And they brought that and left it, and it disappeared when they handed me to Lina Dempsey. And I was told to call her mother. I used to tell her growing up, "You're not my mother." She was a psychopath. I think most of the family must have been, with the exception of a couple of them. Anyway, they all knew about the murders of the twins. And now I have lost my train of thought for sure. Well, I don't know where I was going with that, other than the picture my father was holding me. So I was christened. Now, when you get into this and you start researching it, Cosmos Lang, and then